If you have just stumbled upon the program and you're wondering what in the world is going on, you are locked and loaded on the hottest show on the streets, best form of Crimson Tide football news, notes, and information. That being, in my own words, the podcast with yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama magazine. And we have embarked upon the topic of who must be, or who has to be, the alpha personalities on the Alabama defense in the 2020 season, this season coming up here in the fall. And for me, the three guys that I look at, and of course, if you have a thought, 205-448-1358, the number to call in to let your voice be heard, 205-448-1358. You can also tweet the show at In My Own Words TDA. You can tweet me personally at Coaching M. Smith. You can also drop your thoughts, questions, concerns on our chat line via YouTube. But the three personalities I look at that have to be alpha personalities, Dylan Moses, of course, at linebacker, inside linebacker, the junior out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the former five-star recruit who did not lose his junior year due to him not playing the entire 2019 season because of a knee injury. But having him back, and having him anchor the middle of a defense, and having him get the calls communicated across the board, having him make those tackles, get everything set up, making sure everybody's in the right spot, on the right note, in the right key. It is highly important for him. Now, he's not the biggest talker in the world, but when he gets around his brothers, his energy level goes up. When he gets around his brothers, his voice perks up. When he gets around his brothers, he becomes a completely different guy than what he is around the media, myself included, though he does talk a lot more when it comes to me, but when he's on the field, completely different cat. And you need him to be the guy to make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're doing. So Dylan Moses is definitely one of the alpha personalities that needs to happen. Number two, I go to the defensive line, and while a lot of people would feel like LeBron Ray needs to be that alpha male personality on the defensive line, and I would agree, he's got the leadership, he's one of the older guys, he's one of the guys that has a lot of experience, the former five-star from Madison, Alabama, played at James Clemens High School. While I would agree with the likes of LeBron Ray, I'm going to go with the defensive line personality to be the alpha male is Christian Barmore. Christian Barmore is somebody of whom, even though he's one of the younger guys growing up, he's a guy that everybody respects. When he speaks, he gives so much energy to the entire team. And I got a chance to speak with guys like Anthony Jennings, Terrell Lewis, Jalen Waddle, Jarrett Maiden, just a number of guys a season ago in interviews, and they all just kept talking about how Barmore's passionate, Barmore wants to play, Barmore's a dog, Barmore is somebody that you go to bat for. He the guy that you're going to be right in the cut with. If you going to go to war, you're going with Christian Barmore. And they spoke so highly of this young man as he totaled 6 tackles for loss a season ago, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hurries, made the all Southeastern Conference freshman team. And he was a guy that it bothered him when he was not on the field. And those are the type of guys you got to have. Those are the guys that were meant to be alpha personalities. When they're not on the field, it bothers the crap out of them. And for Christian Barmore, there would be some games where he would be on kind of my side of the press box, so to speak, and I would watch him on the sidelines in just complete agony and anxiety. Like he would be just jumping up and down, just begging to get on the field. And the coaching staff wouldn't look at him. They didn't pay him any attention. And the agony would get bigger and bigger, and the frustration and the anxiety. It would just be like, if you don't put me on this field, I'm going to take a blowtorch to somebody's dome. I mean, he was going off. And it took different teammates to kind of go to the sidelines, console him, calm him down, but he wants it that bad. And for Alabama's defense to get back to what we're known for it to be, or what we have seen it being prior to the last 2 years is having those guys on the field that want it more than anybody else. And Christian Barmore is one of those guys that just wants it more than anybody else. He would be the second alpha personality that you want to see take over in the upcoming season. The third personality, I would go to the secondary and I would pick up Patrick Surtain II. Now, of course, Alabama would have Josh Jobe. It would have Jalen Armour-Davis. It would have Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms, Daniel Wright, Eddie Smith, Scooby Carter, Marcus Banks, just a litany of guys in that secondary that will play and that will get a lot of opportunities, including some of the young freshmen coming into the fold here. But for me, the reason why I would choose Patrick Surtain II is this is his moment to kind of have a voice and bounce back from the year he had a season ago. Now, despite Alabama having more seniors and juniors in that defensive secondary in 2019 with Trayvon Diggs and Jarrett Mate and Xavier McKinney and Shyheim Carter, I'll be honest with you, that secondary did not like to talk last year. That was one of the more quieter secondaries I've ever seen. And I kind of got a beat on that even when those guys were in interviews. Shyheim Carter, low voice, didn't like to talk a lot. Trayvon Diggs, low voice, kind of reserved in the media, didn't like to talk a lot. Jarrett Maiden would talk some, but didn't like to talk a lot. Even Patrick Surtain, kind of low voice, kind of standoffish, didn't like to talk a lot. And when you're in the secondary, you got to talk. And that was the reason why you had so many open holes in coverage. You had so many blown coverages, teams tacking the middle of the field, teams attacking the middle of the zone. Guys could not follow their right assignments because nobody was talking. The only one that was talking was Xavier McKinney, and you could hear X from the freaking parking lot. I mean, he's sitting there yelling to high heaven, trying to get guys in the right spots, get guys following their read, their cues, their plays. And as much as I respect Xavier McKinney, and I do, and I hope he goes to a great, NFL franchise, because this guy did it all last season, and I am still befuddled by the fact that Grant Delpit won the Thorpe Award last year. Yes, I'm not over it. Grant Delpit, who had less tackles than X, less tackles for loss than X, less interceptions than X, probably less pass breakups than X. X McKinney filled out the entire stat sheet, and yet that man still got snubbed for Jim Thorpe. To this day, will not understand why that man was not a finalist for that award. But I digress from that statement. I hope he goes to a great NFL team. But just getting back to this, you got to have guys that are going to talk in the secondary. And Patrick Surtain II, after having a good freshman year, yes, he got burned a bit by CeeDee Lamb against Oklahoma in the Capital One Bowl, even though Alabama won that game. And yes, he got picked on quite a bit against Clemson in the 2019 College Football Playoff National Championship game. But for the most part, Patrick Surtain had a good freshman year. 2019, I was expecting him to take that next step forward, really become more confident, really become more of a factor in terms of his technique, in terms of his coverage, his playing style and coverage, his ability to be in phase and guarding, defending these wide receivers, but don't be too physical, his ability to break on the ball, create turnovers, be the full package guy, take that next step. A lot of people always say that the biggest jump for collegiate athletes is between their freshman and sophomore year. So in my mind, it's Surtain, strong freshman year. He's going to have an even better sophomore year. But sometimes I think he took a step back just due to got called for quite a few pass interference flags, though some of those calls were weak calls going back to Alabama and the Southeastern Conference as a whole had a bit better officiating. maybe the season would have ended on a better note, but hey, I'm not the guys in pinstripes. I'm not the SEC front office in Birmingham. I'm just Stephen M. Smith providing you, the fans, the best in news, notes, and information. That's what I'm doing here. So, to me, there were moments where Surtain took a step back, was called for some flags. There were moments where guys got the better of him. There were moments where he was not in perfect phase, did not have the best coverage. He got beat at times. I still think he needs to put on some more muscle in the upper body. He's got to get a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker there in the waistline. And young man has got to trust his technique. His father, Patrick Surtain Sr., played a lot in the NFL, played for the Miami Dolphins, played for the Kansas City Chiefs, and had a phenomenal career as a corner. He has taught his son a lot. He has worked out with his son. He has gone through the game tape with his son. So there are things that Surtain knows. There are things that Surtain has been made aware of. It's just now, as he enters his junior year, this is the money year for him, he's got to put it completely all together. He's got to become a total package, and he's got to talk. He's got to make sure everybody around him is in the right spot. Whether it's him talking, whether it's Josh Jobe talking, whether it's Jalen Armour-Davis talking, or Daniel Wright, or Eddie Smith, or DeMarco Hellams, or Jordan Battle. I don't care who the mixture of 4, 5, 6 guys Nick Saban puts on that field. It don't matter to me. My thing is, these mouths got to open. Y'all got to talk. Because the last thing this fan base wants to see is a repeat of 2019, where people are caught in no man's land and the middle of the field is wide open, or people are caught in no man's land and the receiver blows by a defensive back, or people are caught in no man's land and we have a John Fulton situation from 2010, flashback to John Fulton, where he doesn't know what he's doing. So, secondary got to talk, but those are just my alpha males for the defense. We're going to go to another break here. When we return, we get some of your calls.
Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month, or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Make sure to subscribe before it's too late and get our new freshly printed end of the year magazine issue. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.